Hi guys, Swordmaster here. Today in this video we're going to continue on from where we left off. In the last video we looked at how to animate the enemy when they get attacked. So if we go back to our game battle system, we can see that when we click fight that the enemy goes through the attack animation. But something that we don't have is we don't have any damage being applied either to the character when the enemy attacks, or when we attack the enemy. Nothing happens. You can see here that our HP just stays at 5, no matter how many times we go through the fight. So, I'm just going to show you how you can actually deal damage to the player's character, and how the player character can deal damage back to an enemy on a board. So, to do this, we're going to need to get access to the character's health. And in our battle system program, we've actually already accessed the character's health before in a previous video. You can see here that when we draw the health, we get the character object from the engine and we draw the current health of the character. So we can use this to change the character's health. So basically what we want to do is that when the enemy attacks the character, after the attack animation has completed, we want to apply some damage to the character's health. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can do that step by step. I just need to close a few things here. So reopen the battle system program. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down all the way to the handle enemy attack. And basically what we want to do here is, before we call the draw, we want to actually apply some damage to the character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a reference to the character from the engine using RPG code get character. Okay. Now basically, once you have this character object, you have access to a couple of properties on the character. If you actually open the character editor up in the wizard, you'll see that you have these properties here called name, level, max level, and health, for example. So if you want to access any of these properties in the engine, what you have to do is you have to use the name, lowercase the first letter, and then remove any spaces. So basically, to access health, what I need to type is I need to say character health. So lowercase the actual first character in the word, and that will straight away give me access to health. So we're just going to reduce the character's health by 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say character health is equal to the current character's health minus 1. So there's a couple of other ways to write this, but this is the simplest way for me to explain exactly what's going on. So basically what we're doing is we're getting a reference to the character from the engine, and we are overwriting the current character's health by taking the current character health and removing 1 from it. So what we should see now is that when the enemy completes its attack, the character's health should be reduced by 1. So we go fight, and then the enemy attacks us back. Our HP goes down to 4, and 3, and so on. And it will keep going down infinitely. But what you might want to do is you might want to actually have that 1 represent the attack power of the enemy. So to do that, we have to take a look at our enemy. So if I open up the enemy that we're using, which is rock, cat, roll, you can see that similar to the player, the enemy has things like health and it has an attack power. So currently the attack power is 1, so I'm actually going to just increase this to 3 and save that. So now what will happen is when the enemy does their attack, we'll apply 3 damage. So before we can do that though, we need to first access the current enemy. So what I'm going to do is similar to the way we get the character. We're going to get a reference to the enemy. So to do that, you need to go RPG code .get sprite, since it's a sprite on the board. So what do I mean by that? So if you remember back on our battle board, we have a sprite, and this is an enemy sprite on the board. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to ask the engine, give me information on the enemy sprite. So I know he's called enemy 1. So we're just going to access enemy 1. And now, in order to get the attack power of the enemy, we need to create a variable or constant and assign the enemy's attack power to it. So it's a little bit awkward to do it this way, but basically what you have to do is you have to say access the sprite object, and then you have to access, because this is an enemy type sprite, then you type enemy and then you type attack. And this gives us access to the attack power of the enemy. And so what we can do now is we can use this constant and just apply it here rather than the 1. So if I run that now, I should see that the player's health is reduced by 3, not just 1. Yeah, and you can see straight away I went down to 2 HP, and if I go through that again, now I'm at minus 1 HP. At minus 1 HP, we really want the battle to end, so I'm going to quickly show you how we can do that. So in terms of ending the battle, at the minute what we have here is we have the enemy turn ends, and then the player can act again. But what we really want to do is we want to check that the character's health is still greater than 0. So we're going to use an if statement, and what we're going to do is we're going to go if character, if 0 is less than the character's health, then continue the battle. So as long as 0 is still less than the character's health, we can continue the battle. So but the moment that the player's character, their health falls below 1, we want to end the battle. We're going to use a real simple technique in the RPG Wizard to kind of simulate the end of the battle, and that's to use the restart command. So there's something called RPG code.restart, and simply all that does is that reloads the engine. So it will just restart the battle essentially. So if I just play that and we go fight, you'll see that our health goes down to 2. We're still in the battle, I still can take action, and the moment it goes to -1, it restarts. So that's just a simple way to do some testing. In a future video, we'll expand upon that, and we'll actually have a kind of victory and lose condition in the battle. But for now, in this video, that's all I'm going to cover. So just to recap on what we've done, we've learned how to access an enemy on the board. So we use the RPG code getSprite function, and using that enemy, we can then access the enemy sprite object and get a hold of their attack power, and then using that we can apply the damage to the player's health. And then simply at the end we have a condition saying as long as the player's health is greater than 0, continue the battle, otherwise end. So that's all we're going to cover in this video, which was dealing damage to the player character. In the next video I'm going to look at dealing damage to the current enemy on the board. It's pretty similar to this. and we'll look at actually representing the enemy's health some way in the battle system too. But that's it for today.